just one extra life in these playoffs can mean so much as we now head back on to the Rift. Taking a look at the runes early on, it is going to be the fleet footwork for the Kai'Sa. Obviously, you're going against champions or two champions that rely heavily on skill shots. The fleet footwork does a lot of work there to get you out of some sticky situations.
And that's such an underrated thing about the rune, right? A lot of people just run fleet because it gives you sustain, it gives you the ability to get through these poke matchups. But the move speed you get is, really underrated. Even in the team fights, as the game does go on, being able to kite out these fighters if they do not find that engage onto you, if that Viego misses W, having that extra move speed from the fleet can allow you to do more damage. Whereas, a lot of people say press the attack, obviously more damage, you'll do more upfront overall damage. I think that stuff that gives you the ability to do more damage, throughout the team fights, throughout these skirmishes, just the ease of execution is really underrated. And that's why we see so many of the top players and top regions in the LPL and the LCK, go for those early bloodthirsters on these AD carry solo lanes because it allows them to stay in these team fights and have more uptime.
Yeah. Often, you have the more upfront damage that comes out of, say, the Blade of the Ruin King or the Kraken Slayer. But oftentimes it's just the uptime you're able to keep, right? As you just touched on, that allows you to actually do more damage if the team fights are drawn out. Now, it has to be said that the team fights, for Frank, they don't want it to be drawn out, right? They have a LeBlanc, they have a Viego. The burstier the fight, the better it is going to be for this side. Yeah. But on the other side, with the Kai'Sa, with the Tristana, if you can extend the fights, you are going to start looking better and better in at least the individual skirmishes or 5v5s or whatever it may be.
Yeah, and while, I did mention that Frank does have that early game advantage, I do think the power spikes for Bliss, are much cheaper. The Frozen Fist for the Cassante being almost, 700 gold cheaper than the Triforce Spike that comes out of the Camille. I think that a lot of the champs from Bliss don't need completed items. They just need components or they need levels. So we're probably going to see the level 7, the level 9 from the Tristana. The Q Evolve from the Kai'Sa is also another major power spike. Whereas, the Ezreal really wants that Triforce Spike, that 2-item power spike. Same with LeBlanc, you need that 1 item before you can really take over this game. And even if you are in an even game state, if you are just constantly getting pushed under your tower by the Tristana, you're not going to be able to find the lead. And all of a sudden being in this even game state as this LeBlanc is just a very sad position to be in.
Yep, absolutely. And even so far in the lane is that mid lane, but a CS advantage certainly in favor of Jiang, as he is going to be on the weak side of the map, but gets out a nice early ward, so should be privy to any ideas of a gank if Kevy does look for something up there. Somewhat evening out the CS is BioPanther, but still, you say, right, the 700 gold difference between those two items, it's really up to Jiang to push the issue in this early game where he will have a lot of potential to get advantage, to try and close the gap in terms of that gold. Because the closer that gold gap becomes, the better it's going to be for this Camille, because ultimately the Triforce is just simply a better item than the Iceborne Gauntlet, so we'll see what can happen. Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say, you're pretty much on the money. Obviously, the more expensive item is going to do a lot more, but it is really nice, having that Frozen Fist or the Iceborne on the Cassante, having that slow to enable yourself to do more damage is, nice. It's Cassante as a champion doesn't really need these items that amp up his damage because his base damage is so high. He just needs the ability to do damage, and that's why we've already seen stuff like the Zeeks come out as these cheap item spikes for the Cassante. So if he does go for those double 2,500 gold item spikes, you could just see him be really, really strong in these early skirmishes and just bridge for his team to get towards the late game.
Yeah, and sort of on that note as well for Cassante, it's really nice being a champ that scales off just components, right? As Gemini shows some presence up on the top side, and the movement and Pathmaker both having to be used, and this is going to cost the teleport out of BioPanther, but will be matched. But as I was saying, this Cassante champ, right, it's really nice being like the Cassante where you do just scale off components. The more armor, magic resist you have, you get cooldown reduction on your Q, and the more health you have, you get cast time reduction on your Q. So you do just, as you pick up a cloth armor or as you pick up a null magic mantle, actually get some benefits out of it that other champions don't get the same value out of.
What an awesome champion. That is, as we saw, Bio lost his flash and he missed out on the entire wave experience. Is very, very sad for him, in this game state. And this is the same thing we saw in game 1, Gemini with that full clear down to the bot side of the map, recalls lane gank onto top side, and then, all of a sudden Bio lost his flash, wave is not in a good position, and has to put himself in uncomfortable positions going forward to try and get this wave in, because in the individual 1v1 Yijung just has that wallet gap at this point.
Oh, max range hook shot, certainly known the champion well, as the Pathmaker answered, and a lot of damage traded back and forward between these two top laners. You know, we almost never have our camera just live top lane, and I'm very happy it is right now. Ultimate available for Jiang. He's going aggressive. Hextech Ultimatum. It could come out. Probably not going to be able to find a kill, but it certainly means now that BioPanther has no way to get back to this wave, as Jiang, realizing this, is certainly capitalizing on that weakness that K'Sante finds himself at.
Now, see, Bio's probably going to complete this recall just to make sure he's full health, but...
Yeah, Harry going aggressive, does get stunned up. Jimmy finds a lot of damage and going to force out that flash away from Harry in that mid lane. Once again, just right place, right time for Gemini.
And, you know, does lose his flash, but, you know, to my earlier point, Bio does complete that recall because, you know, we do see the wave stacking towards him on the top side. He needs to be full health when this one does crash, because this is something that you need to be conscious about. If, you know, you are on a, you know, health threshold where you can be dived, it does completely explode the game. If he does die on the stacked wave, doesn't have TP to get back to his lane, he is done for the game from that point. So really nice to see that he does go for that recall, does respect that he can fall down and, you know, loses out a bit, but he's trying to bridge the gap from, you know, him losing the flash in the early game and getting denied the experience on that wave.
Absolutely, as the trade of objectives comes through once again in the same order, where Team Bliss do pick up that dragon. It is the Void Grubs, however, for the side of Frank, and I think in this game, more so than the last ones even, probably a very good trade for Frank, because ultimately Lilia really wants XP. She really wants to get, you know, higher level, and Grubs just offer a whole lot more XP ultimately than Dragon does. And, you know, when you get to that one item spike, which will roughly be when the second dragon spawns, at least personally, I think other than Ezreal, the entire side of Frank should be more spiked than the side of Bliss. I think the only exception would be maybe Kai'Sa's stronger than Ezreal, although even that's not entirely certain, right? You don't have the upgrades yet for the Kai'Sa at one item, whereas the Triforce is just so solid.
The nice thing about the Kai'Sa at this point in the game is that your damage is consistent, right? Whereas, you know, the Ezreal can do a lot of damage. The True Shot Barrage hurts a lot, but his damage is skill shot based. So there is the ability to outplay, and this is a blue buff invade happening in a potential team fight that could come through or skirmish in the early game, because level 6 is for both junglers.
Yeah, just resetting the camp now as Jimmy playing aggressively yet again, but not able to find any procs on that Sigil of Malice, I believe.
Yes, pretty sure. But don't ask me. A lot of the time with the mid laners, I just play the champions.
Yes,
I don't
the
queue. We have the trivias where we got to guess the skin, guess the ability name, guess like who the voice line is, and I'm not a professional at that.
Yeah, not a pro LOL player. That happens.
I'm a decent LOL player, but you know, sometimes I'm just like, what is that? Like, especially for the champs I've never played.
Yeah,
I just have no idea what's going on.
I mean, game state, this is the most even it's been out of our 3 games. And, you know, despite the disadvantage Team Bliss were at last game, we're able to pick it back up. This time, though, pretty much the entire advantage in this game is mostly just top lane. It is just Jiang with an advantage over his counterpart, and not really that surprising. And the good thing is, K'Sante can do a lot with a little. Right, he doesn't really need to get to certain items to truly spike. He will always just be a K'Sante. Just nice reaction from Wako and fantastic trade back.
And you know, while we are having a quiet early game, I think that Jimmy in particular has done a good job to, you know, create a CS lead and maintain priority for his team. Even though we aren't seeing this like quote unquote snowball come out of the LeBlanc yet, he is maintaining mid priority in a, you know, quite a bad 1v1. The fact that Tristana can just go for an null magic mantle on the recall really makes this matchup hard, and always has, you know, more priority on the way. But the fact that LeBlanc needs to use spells in the way just alleviates a lot of that kill pressure or trading power in the 1v1. So the fact that Jimmy is, you know, finding this 1v1, maintaining the priority is so good for his team, because we already see Gemini and, you know, Kaiwing grouping up in that bot jungle, getting deep wards. We see like the line of vision on the bot side of the map, and it really like allows them to feel a lot more comfortable.
Absolutely. Now, John getting to work on this tower should be and will be a plate as he dodges away from that Q3. And definitely forming a pretty sizable advantage. It has to be set up here in top, and that's been almost without jungle pressure. There was one moment where Gemini strolled on through the lane with that hollowed path, but BioPanther could have looked for a kill there maybe if that Pathmaker connected rather.
You know, while Yijang is low on mana, he does have the 2 cookies in his inventory, so, you know, always can play Spoiler to, you know, baiting with that low mana, but the next set of grubs are spawning in 13 seconds here, and we already see Bliss grouping up, being the first one on this objective. They have the Scuttle, they have the priority in the mid lane, and they just need to allow Bai to get to this objective, because in that 4v4, I think they're quite comfortable, especially with that Flash Lullaby being available.
Yeah, certainly is a point of strength, but Frank now, they're going to be able to group up. I don't know how much gold is available for either of these top laners, but they do have the ability to recall and teleport to any play that does happen. I'm suspecting neither of them really wanting to commit a teleport until they can get that first item online. I mean, you see Yijang, he's about 1.2, 1.3k gold away.
Bliss, I'm still not really sure what they want to do here. I feel like they want to contest this one, but they're really hesitant. You know, you do see Kevy channeling the recall, so they are, you know, deciding to give away the 6 grubs, playing for that next dragon. You know, Kevy does have quite a sizable camp lead for himself, so he does pick up the Leandris, does have his first item completed, and this is when they need to start, you know, using Aladoric and Kevy invading these camps, finding these skirmishes, because in the 2v2, you know, Viego, Leona versus the Lilia and the Rakan, they're obviously going to win just through the, you know, item gap. But when those mid laners are freed up, when Harry can jump over the walls and start impacting these fights, it's when he finally gets to shine.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gemini not looking for a recall yet, so not likely. Ooh. Oh my goodness gracious me.
And that's the Luden's completed.
Yeah, this is scary. Flash forward. He's going to get answered by the flash from Kevy, so a trade of that summoner for the junglers, as the chain will go wide there from Jimmian. Not quite connecting onto Harry. The dragon spawned, and everyone's down here.
That is a huge deal. That is definitely a huge deal. The fact that Kevy just lost his flash, the strongest member on the map right now, doesn't have the ability to, you know, look for those flash engages, but is also susceptible to a flash engage that could come out of Kaiwing, and he is a player who's found the engages every single time.
This is the problem, right? Lost the flash, gets immediately solar flared, and Jimmian, he's got his item too, but he's not able to find the kill. Kevy kept alive there from the good work of Aladoric, and it's going to be first blood picked up there for Violet on to that jungler. Now it's still going to be Yijang going aggressive. That's the Hextech ultimatum. He's taking a lot of damage, turned around. Wako finds 1 kill in response, and it's a 1-for-1 jungle for top lane. And no objective to come out just yet, but what a performance from Aladoric to keep his jungler alive.
Yeah, that heal came in so clutch. You know, this is a really nice thing about the Rakan, you know, has that summoner heal. He can buy time for his team, but he also blocked the stun that came out of Viego, so pretty much absorbed as much damage as he could for Kevy, and it allowed him to get out of that one, and this was a favorable trade for his team, but Yijang just rocks up to this fight and does so much damage, but also absorbs so much damage. I'm not sure if he had this Triforce completed here, but if he did, it definitely tells, you know, how these team fights are going to look when there's just not a lot of damage on these carries right now.
Yeah, Yijang is in there 1v4 and Biopanther 1v3 on the bot side, but it was the Cassante who lost out on that trade there. Now, Team Bliss, they are back on the map, and Kevy started up on this Ocean Dragon. Do have to be careful, though. The Solar Flare very close to being up, but it doesn't seem like Frank are willing to commit.
I think that, you know, Bliss should feel confident in this, you know, 4v4 game state right now. The real loser of this map is going to be Bayo, right? Yijang has the Triforce complete, doesn't have the Frozen Fist in his inventory, but there's no teleports left on the map. So the solo laners can't impact these 4v4s, and I think that the side of Bliss feel a lot more comfortable in these team fights, especially when there's no flash on Gemini to get that stun follow-up on a potential engage that comes out of Kaiwing.
Absolutely is. We still do see Frank with quite a lot of aggression here, and mid laners now going down their bot side. Jimmian will be popping the bone plating, but I mean, ultimately Harry's bone plating there denied a whole lot of damage. And Jimmian did commit, or connect even, with pretty much everything he threw out.
The nice thing about the rune Interlobang specifically is that, you know, a lot of her spells are really important. There is no like clean way besides like the distortion forward and the auto attack to proc the bone plating, so it's really nice in the 1v1s. And I think that, you know, based on the items right now, if Harry is left to his 1v1, he can jump forward and absorb all the damage that comes out of Jimmian and, you know, win out that 1v1. But when they group up like this, when they find those 3v3s, when they find that priority off that mid lane and go to the side lanes to do stuff together as a team, potentially even going onto this inner towers, we still do see the, you know, the members of Bliss going for this Rift Herald.
Yeah, maybe staying a little bit too long. I mean, ultimately, you just gave up first blood tower for a Rift Herald, right? And I think most teams will be completely okay with that. Now, Wako has been left here, and Yejung has made his way down here to defend this mid lane tower. We'll see what Team Bliss want to do. Do they want to try and get some pressure? It doesn't seem really like they're able to, as Kevy does stick to the top side of the map, maybe look for an invade. Although Yejung quickly coming up to him. Hookshot used, I see it on the mini-map, but not quite going to be able to land.
Very, very confusing why Bliss decided to cross the map. You know, they Aldork on the bot side of Raid denied that play, and the fact that there is 3 camps on the top side of Frank that are not being stolen away by the, you know, which should have been the traded map, which should have been more gold going towards Kevy, is really confusing to me. I think they had the opportunity to take away a lot, and, you know, that was the main win that they got from, you know, Frank grouping up and playing together as a team. You know, they lost that tower, but they should have got more map control, and they should have got more gold overall.
Yeah, absolutely, but at the end of the day, it was Frank winning out in that occurrence and pick up first blood tower. It's going to extend, I guess, the lead that Jimmy find themselves at, although it's not all that impactful just yet. Ultimately, pretty even in terms of power, these two mid laners as things stand. Well, I mean...
I was going to say, I think that, you know, Frank... They have a lot more map control right now. They're just moving together really well with this LeBlanc in particular, and I think that Young requires multiple members to deal with him, whereas, you know, the rest of the Bliss side, you can kind of match with your individual 1v1, so they're going to be able to get overall more control of the map, but I think it's these team fights that are kind of scary for Frank, because, you know, while this Camille is strong, she is squishy, and if she goes into mispositions, gets caught by that Rakan lockup, there is the damage to take her out.
Yeah, definitely. Team Bliss are doing a good job of getting pressure here around this bottom side of Frank's jungle. Now working away at this mid lane tower. Solarflare comes out, lands onto Kevy. Is going to be able to get himself out for the time being. Has flash available, but it's going to get the teleport out of Biopanther for almost nothing. Jimmy is still going aggressive, and Kevy able to dodge out of that chain. Very scary
indeed. But that's going to be the teleport trade for both Bio and Jimmy. But Jimmy gets priority in the side lane. So, you know, if that matchup is going to be the one that's matched again, all of a sudden, if it's the Camille or the LeBlanc, they get priority in their 1v1s, then walk down in group anyway. So, you know, Harry's the only real one who can get priority in the side lane and, you know, mitigate that. Dragon is spawning in a minute, but Kevy...
Oh, but Kevy's been found out, just chained up and taken out. That's a reset as well. Harry's trying to get away. He should be able to do so. No, he will not. The reset coming through, but the Buster shot somehow saves him on the most minute amount of HP.
He does get out, but that's still Kevy going down. You know, he isn't really respecting the fact, he got spotted on that ward. You know, he doesn't know that. He's going for his next camp. He's just tracked there by Gemini and Jimmy and just following him as well. They find that 2v2, and this is the, you know, one of the downfalls of the Lily. While you are really good into these melee champs, while you are really good in these team fights, LeBlanc especially, if she does land that chain, will just one-shot you.
Oh, just so clean.
Just really, really nice execution overall. The fact that they don't even leave it up to chance, they flash in him, they pull the trigger straight away is really nice to see. But Harry living here, it's honestly a godsend for Bliss. If he fell down here, that would have been such a big deal for how these side lanes look going forward.
Yeah, but as you said, important that he did survive Violet as well. I mean, he's doing well for himself. Team Bliss certainly got play around the map. It's only what is nearly a 2k gold advantage, and Team Bliss, you know, they've come back from worse. They're up the 2 dragons to 0 as the third one will be spawning now. And Gemini lost his flash in the last fight, so won't be able to look for such a clean engage as he was last time again.
Just a casual level 12 matching experience with the solo lane is, this is what, you know, I mentioned to you was like the strength of Bliss is when he's left to the 1v1s in the bot lane and is able to scale up even faster. So he's a really, really high level in this game, and as a champion that LeBlanc struggles to play into, right? You know, a lot of the damage from Kai'Sa, you can't outplay, you can't use your distortion to avoid it. You know, you just get hit with the Void Seeker, get hit with the Cathian Rain. There's so much damage onto you, but this is a 5v5 on the objective.
Yeah, Soulflare coming out again, lands onto Aladork, and he's stunned up for a long, long time. True Shot Barrage even coming through and taking him down even lower. And now it's Frank with utmost control over this river. Kevy stacking up his movement speed, trying to find a way back in there. But it's Wako, it's Jung, and it's Gemini who are completely unfazed by anything that Team Bliss are doing. And with that, we'll be able to collect themselves their first and the third dragon of the game.
This is the, you know, the really hard thing about versing stuff like LeBlanc and Ezreal when you are outranged and there is no, you know, flank threat or like champion who can consistently mark them. But I'll hold my point is Yijung might find the solo.
Yeah, Harry, nice buster shot again. But just using that ult constantly to run away, not being able to use it aggressively, not find advantages for himself as the flash going to be used there by both Aladoric and Wako. Now, obviously, you generally like trading that, you know, losing your support's flash for the enemy team's AD carry, but in general, maybe Ezreal's the one exception, as he does just have a flash on such a small cooldown anyway.
Yeah, it doesn't really need the flash this game. That will tie into my point from earlier, was the fact that no one's really marking the Ezreal or LeBlanc, and they were just able to, LeBlanc jump over the wall, land the double, sigil harass, and really chunk out Kevy there. No response onto LeBlanc, and the fact that, Wako can constantly just poke. As Bliss is just going to play this front to back and not look for these flanks, not look for these hard engages, they are just going to, get out-poked, and it's such a hard thing to deal with.
Yeah, Wako, 6 Void Grubs, Ezreal, Essence Flax, there goes the cleanse from Violet, and I don't even know what just happened to Aladoric, but he is no longer on the screen. Jimmy coming in and just completely one-shotting that Rakan, and with that, it's now a 4v5 on the map. Complete control in every lane, and maybe even the 20-minute Baron coming through.
Is the potential for this one, but, we do see Wako looking for the recall. Hasn't got his, 2-iron power spike yet. Is sitting on a lot of gold as well. See the 2-iron power spike coming through for Violet. I think the only real way they can answer this comp is when, Violet gets that Void Seeker evolved with the Nashes and is able to respond with the poke on his, from his own, because while Kevy is fed, he can't really do anything without, the Zhonyas, without the flash being able to get into these team fights. Gemini isn't really going to do anything in these team fights either, right? All he needs to do is just flash and find the shutdown. But
talking about an engaged Young finding one, but he is completely all alone. Biopanther teleporting in, and we're finding our way onto jungle. Hook shot, max range with the Acathian Rain. Max Ranger, as down will come that Lufting Lullaby. It's a nice deny from Kaiwing, but it's still going to be Wako all out and taken out. Might have wanted his flash. The stun comes back onto Biopanther, who will flash away. He'll go out of that all out, get those resistances back, and his Team Bliss 2 for 0, top lane and AD carry taken out. And Jimmy and Gemini and Kaiwing with so much to do to try and deny a Baron.
This is their winner to win the game here. Gemini has that flash. We've seen him steal his objectives before. They're not marking him.
Solar comes out, it's landed. It's going to find so much damage. One reset could be all they need. They're able to find it, Jimmy, and confirming that. But Gemini not actually able to take over that soul. They've stopped the Baron, but it's still Team Bliss getting more and more gold. Kevy not going to be able to find his way onto Jimmy, and who has got to have some fancy footwork. Not going to have it, though. He comes back. He looks for a bit of extra damage. Not going to have what it takes. Is the true shot barrage. We've got another game on a knife's edge here, Telly.
Absolutely on the knife's edge, and a lot of disrespect from Yijang there. The fact that he goes for that engage onto the, Violet in the mid lane. The fact Kai'Sa has 2 items now and does so much damage. I mentioned how Camille can be squishy, and if it is caught out of position, as we do see in the replay, engaging like this onto a Kai'Sa with the Rakan in the back pocket, it's just never the play. And there is the flank coming from the TP, but Bio has his own TP in response, and there's so much damage forward, and Violet is a player who recognizes when he is left to his devices, when he is unlocking his team fights, will flash forward and find his executes, and the rest of the team from Bliss does so well to, find an advantage from what looked like a map state that was just, dead to rights for themselves.
I mean, taking a look at the replay, it's Violet who just survives so much, and it's off the back, actually, of the Killer Instinct shield. The Buster Shot as well denies Gemini from getting that soul, so just lots of things coming together, and very, very well played mechanically from Team Bliss to take what looked like almost a losing situation into a very heavy win for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Kevy getting this kill here is such a big deal. Getting that shut down. He is that solo AP carry, or main AP carry for the team right now. Violet will have the AP threat as the game does go on. He does get the Nashes, but he really needs items to bridge the, differences between what his champion can do into stuff like LeBlanc and the Ezreal. And I think that Lilia, as a champion, every time you have Flash, should mean a teamfight win.
Yeah, it can be very scary to play against the Flash Lilia. Just the Q into the Zhonyas. True Shot Barrage coming through. Violet now. Very, very low on HP. Has to be careful. Where is Jiang? He's kind of locked up in that top side. Gemini also with no flash. Not going to be able to truly look for anything that significant just now. As nice slow land. The bowling ball connecting.
But Bliss did get forced off mid lane, right? They lost priority. Frank is going to pick up the priority here. The dragon is spawning. This could be just a free objective going over towards the side of Frank. But Bliss... actually Frank deciding not to go for that one. Maybe they think that the Baron is more important. They don't want to allow Bliss to have control of the top side while they commit to the bot side, because there is so much DPS threat from a Lilia, from double 80 carries, and whoever goes for this dragon here does have the potential of just giving up this objective right now.
Now poke coming through both sides. As it is with a control at least for now in favor of the side of Bliss. Hayri caught out, but a nice buster shot yet again means that he's going to deny that Hextech ultimate and really any use Just great usage of that Tristana ultimate here to keep himself nice and safe in the side lane, and going to be able to pick himself up a tower now.
That's such a big deal. That is such a big deal that, you know, there is no Hextech Ultimate, and now there is no lockdown for the members such as the Kai'Sa, the Lilia, or the Rakan. They now have the ability to, you know, unleash in these team fights, but this is still Bliss committing a lot of resources for that top tower, right? They've, you know, 5-man reset. This should be the Dragon going over to Frank, but, you know, have to see what Bliss want to do. Do they run straight towards this Dragon, or do they just, you know, use that mid priority and go straight back towards the top side to pressure the Baron?
Yeah, could even, as you said, look for the Baron, right? They have just so much Baron damage in that Kai'Sa and that Tristana, and even in the Lilia, where it is a potential angle, and it's something that Frank would have to be careful of, but instead, just without the mid lane priority, not feeling like they're able to do it, and now we'll just fight over this priority as Frank do pick up their second Dragon. Kevy being looked at as Hextech Ultimate is still not up here, is asleep will go Jiang. He does manage to get himself across the wall though, and it is actually Violet finding himself here on that backside of the Frank Esports team composition. Kylie's going to go down too, perhaps. The flash away maybe saves him for the time being, but it's 2 kills picked up for Bliss. They're turning their attention towards the Baron, and as I just said, it will be a very, very quick Baron if they're able to get their time on it.
This should absolutely be, you know, a free Baron for Bliss right now. Frank are going to have to do some absolutely crazy magic to be able to contest this one. Wako needs to land these Mystic shots, and Jimmy needs to find execute onto correct members for Bliss here. But all Bliss really needs to do is just play goalie for their carries, as Bio is doing, and they will secure themselves this free objective because they do have the smite advantage.
Yeah, down to half HP, and eventually will pick it up, will the side of Team Bliss, and now again, they find themselves, they're ahead in this game number 3. They're looking to take the first win Alcio's ever had against a PCS team. And they're doing it in fantastic style, as with Baron, they can look for resets and they can march down whatever lane they choose and start to work on these standing objectives.
And this is just the difference between, you know, Yijang not having Hextech Ultimate to lock down Kevy. Look how much distance he creates, and the fact he's able to kite that one out with the Listening Lullaby, which enables Violet to dive onto the backline and find that execute before the hookshot lands, and allows Jimmy to one-shot Violet. Really well played by the entire side of Bliss. And, you know, coming into this series, I was going to be happy if Bliss was able to look competitive against Frank, you know, because Frank's a really good team, and in LCO history, we've really struggled against even the 5th and 6th seed from the PCS, but to see them, you know, go the distance in Game 3 against the 4th seed, in a team that is considered one of the, you know, even the better teams, maybe even better than their current standings in the league right now, is really, really nice to see.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives you a lot of hope and glee as a Oceanic fan, although maybe caught out here as Aladoric. He uses that battle dance, he's not able to get out, and that's a kill back. And a bit of time away from potential usage of this Baron buff. And on the other side of the map, it's the resets coming through for Gemini. Hextech Ultimate and use, and Harry may have made enough distance to get himself out. Rocket Jump once again defensively as another trade comes through. Flash forward comes out of Kevy as he's not able to lock down Wako in a 2-for-2. All things said and done, a lot used around the rift. But importantly, I think a win for Frank, as this is downtime on some of these Baron buffs.
This is a 2-for-2, so obviously going to favor the team who was behind, but it's nice to see that Bliss, while they lost their member for pretty much nothing in Aladoric, they were still ready to fight that one down numbers, and they can use their, you know, micro prowess that they're really pulling through in these team fights to, you know, win from advantages or from states that don't look favorable for them. And I think that's really nice to see that we do have the hands and we can match up to the PCS right now, but this is honestly just going to come down to how well Harry plays this one. He creates so much space for his team with the ult once again, and, you know, kites this one out, allows Kevy to rock up here in time, allows Bio to rock up in time to clean up these members.
Yeah, and Biopanther doing so much here in the pit. Does give enough time to eventually take out Gemini, and yeah, got the double flash out of both those carries. Wako still having his. Could be important. Jiang. It looks so cool when you do things like that on a Camille, but siege down on this top side tower. It should be picked up, and with the damage coming out of Tristana, certainly will be. As it is still Bliss in control of this game. They find themselves up 2.5k gold. Up in the kills and up in, honestly, just momentum here in game number 3. Wako, though, he does now complete 3 items. So going to be very hard to legitimately poke out this Ezreal with the Bloodthirster now completed.
Yeah, and these team fights are really going to come down to Frank needing to outplay their opponents, right? You know, a lot of the champs on the side of Frank do not have AoE. It's just all about the single target execution. And, you know, normally you would consider that just the poorer team fight overall because, you know, you look at the side of Bliss, they have the Lilia, they have the Cassante who can play frontline, they have the Kai'Sa who can execute members off the CC. This is a lot more versatility or the you know, just their champs have the ability to adapt to different team fight scenarios. Whereas, you know, Frank, they need to find that pick from overall. They need to find the execution onto members, you know, like they did find into Eldoric earlier, and then snowball that in the team fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Recall coming through here for BioPanther, who we'll see if he's able to pick up something. Just the Ruby Crystal for now, but does have teleport ahead of this 20-second timer on what is potentially a third dragon for either team. Puts themselves on Dragon Soul Point, and you know, that is a lot of momentum, honestly. Just getting onto that Soul Point means that you get to play the map a lot differently than the other team. It is at the moment Frank with mid lane Prio, with Prio over this river, and you can see almost no vision afforded to the side of Team Bliss. Yeah, BioPanther teleports in. We'll just be looking for a front to back, and so far should be okay to find that. Kaiwing have to be keeping eyes on this player, as Violet is so low and ultimately doesn't have access to any lifesteal. The Redemption even not really finding all that much value. As on the other side, I mean, Marco, he's going to get hit by that Lily Rolls and flash away for Kaiwing, but the flash forward and everyone's piled on to this Israel. Wako is trying as he might, not going to be able to get any distance found. It is going to be the Dragon picked up here for the side of Frank, but it's a 1-0. Wako down for a long time, and what can Team Bliss get on the back end of that?
And that's going to be the random bowling ball from Kevy that lands onto the most important member of Frank. But even though Bliss has controlled this game, or they have the lead, they have the power, we get to see how easily Frank, with setup, can deal with their comp. You know, they just have to, you know, deny any flanks and just keep poking them out. Whereas, you know, Bliss did find this really nice engage onto the crucial member. Without that, it is so hard to find that engage.
Absolutely, and now Inhib in that middle lane taken out in favor of Team Bliss. In the meanwhile, Jiang pushing down on this bottom side. 6 Void Grubs, remember. If he does get any time to hit that tower, certainly would take it out, but he's actually opted to look for a recall. Puzzling.
Do go on the replay here, and this is the random bowling ball that does land onto Wako. You know, you would think he is pretty safe as an Ezreal, but this is the power of the Kai'Sa and a Rakan with the ult going and the flash. You know, such a nice engage, and Violet being able to go in there and, you know, Poppy stasis to deny any trade back from Jimmy, and it's just really well played by Bliss to find the kill onto the most important member in this game.
Yeah, and with that, he used the Seeker's Arm guard stasis, and now just has the full Zhonya's, so not going to be feeling the 90 or the 90-second cooldown, as he just immediately upgraded it, or the fact that you won't have access to it after one usage. And so feeling pretty good here is Violet. Very safe, very strong. 4-1-4, great showing from him here in both game number 2 and now in game number 3.
And this is why LeBlanc, you know, sort of fell in the meta, right? Because it's, you know, while he is so strong on LeBlanc in this mid lane, he does have the 3 items. It's just, you know, you look at the inventories of a lot of these members, you know, Zhonya's to outplay, Blood, double lifesteal items for Harry, Magic Resist in the top lane, Stasis for Kevy in the jungle, and then a mobile Rakan. But they are starting the Baron. They're happy to flip this one.
Yeah, half HP. Gemini's going to be able to get himself into that pit if he needs to, and here comes a Solar Flare, a lot of damage, and he gets it. He steals his second one of the series. Everything coming down onto him, and he will be taken out, and so much CC as the 2-man Q3 landed by BioPanther, and he's finding more and more. It might be everyone but Wako going down. Congratulations, Frank, you got the Baron, but it might just be this fact that Team Bliss, they're going to take down everyone. There's an open lane, and LCO will find their first series win in the PCS against the PCS team.
Holy shit, boys, we've done it! I never doubted, and, you know, they have the lead, they have the 5-man ace, they're finally going to be able to pick up the win. Look at the emotion on Violet right now. You can already tell that he is feeling this one, and it's even starting to affect me as well. This is, I'm so proud of them.
I am so happy that at long last, not only did Bliss get their first win here in the PCS, but they won the whole series. And that man on your screen, Violet, what a series out of him. 2 amazing performances in those back-to-back games. First, the Jhin. It's not an easy game to get anything done as the Jhin there in game number 2. He gets it done. Then game number 3, an immaculate Kai'Sa game against none other, by the way, than Wako Kaiwing. 2 of the most formidable and storied PCS AD carry support duos that the PCS has ever had. And it's Team Bliss who get it done. Just around the map, such a fantastic showing. Devastation on the side of Frank Esports. Their hopes here in the PCS, of course, is still alive. They are not eliminated. They do move down to that losers bracket, but the first time in the PCS history, we have an LCO team moving on in the upper bracket.
And, you know, I can't really, you know, put into words like how proud of them I am. I know that Violet in particular always talks to me about, you know, how much he respected Waka and Kaiwing as players in years past. So it's really nice to see that he can, you know, get past this wall that he would have, you know, considered. So it's nice that there's still growth for us, right? We still have the, you know, the ability to beat these teams overseas who are so good, who are so respected. And while you know, Bliss did pick up the 2-1 victory today, I think that Frank didn't play bad. Right, it's not the fact that, you know, they dropped the ball. It's just that Bliss really stepped up. They really, you know, pulled it together after that first game, where a lot of people would have thought, like, after what we saw, it was just going to be a blowout. But they really